where to put you. Oh, hey there! How are you? Welcome to my collection. My name's Walter Krueger, and this is my Oz room, and as many of you may have seen before on my group, Wizard of Oz Collectors United, I do Wizard of Oz Collectors Live. And what that is basically I like to show things in my collection and inform others, and also take questions about things that people may also have in their collections. But for this, for you digital conventional goers, I'm going to show you guys stuff you've never seen before. Like him. As many of you are like, what's that? We're going to show these wonderful things along with a few items you may have never seen, including exclusive looks at costumes from movies that have since long been forgotten or lost, that I have picked up along the way and have found their way and home to my collection. So, without further ado, I want to give you guys this exclusive, off the tripod, beyond the case, unlock the cases, off the shelf, exclusive look into things you've never seen before on my exclusive lives. So, starting with Mr. Scarecrow, as many of you may know, he is done in the fashion of Neil, as many of you recognize the yellow hat with the red band. And this doll came from me from a auction that I had won. And the previous owner was a toy collector who specialized in collecting extremely rare toys. He was sold after that man had unfortunately passed away. So this Scarecrow has a screen-printed face, as you can see, which is very odd. And he's from the 1920s, I'd say, by his craftsmanship and materials used. Now, with a closer look of his face, we can see that a screen print or stencil was used of some sort. So this was not hand-done or handmade by a mother or grandmother or someone. This was made by a company. And as we recognize that oh-so-familiar face, as you can see by his craftsmanship, his boots are made of felt, and his hands are even toony to the point that they have the 3 lines drawn on the back, but are screen printed, as you can see, not hand painted or stitched. And his hands are definitely distinctively done in the very toon fashion glove. So this Scarecrow is a never before seen, and as I find, never before identified, Oz relic. And so he's very interesting. He lives in my collection, and I love him very much. Now, from my research, I would say that he was most likely an offering from here in Chicago with a department store that had offered Patchwork Girl dolls around the 1920s. So I would say he probably is a companion to that. I've read somewhere that in previous auctions from the 80s and early 90s, a Patchwork Girl doll was sold, and within that listing they mentioned a Jack Pumpkinhead doll, which seems kind of odd. So only time will tell if one of those will pop up. But Mr. Scarecrow here has a wonderful craftsmanship, and I love him very much, and his mysterious history is something that intrigues me very much. So I love him, and he is something that will stay in my collection and eventually hopefully go into my museum. So that's one of the things I wanted to share with you. And so as we have here a couple other things, I'm going to take you off the tripod and I'm going to walk you around because there's just a bunch of things that I have to show you. I've opened all of my cases too here. So without any bounds, I'm going to show you guys. So give me a moment as I take you off. Whoop, here we go. Alrighty. Ooh, okay. So, for this exclusive look, you're going to get to see all of my lighting and things like that as well, so excuse that. But as you see, the very familiar ruby slippers from my collection on display. So, we'll walk over here to this cabinet for our first exclusive look for you convention goers, digital convention goers. How fun is that? But, as many of you may recognize from movies, this is Mabel King's crown from The Wiz, made by Universal in 1978. As many of you know, this movie's featured Diana Ross and the oh-so-famous Michael Jackson. After a major Broadway smash hit, Universal decided to make it a movie. And so the character, Eveline, which is the Wicked Witch of the West, was played by Mabel King both on stage and screen. So this is her crown that she was wearing in the movie. And what's really fun is you can see within age from 78 to now, 2020, it's held up actually really well. I purchased this from a private costume house out in LA, and it was a really fun little find. And I love it so much, and I want to share like this with so many people, with the appreciation of cinema and stage and all of that, and just the Americana of like our history of the arts of having Broadway musicals that pushed the envelope, took the whiz, redefined it, and brought it up to date for that time. And so this is just a wonderful piece to have in a collection to kind of like make that a momentous moment and kind of to remember that. So I really, really love this piece. It is definitely something that people would love to put on display in a museum, and hopefully I can loan this out and I can also put on display in my museum as well in the future. But further along that shelf, we see something else from that movie, and what we see is Nipsey Russell's gloves from The Wiz. Now, how fun are those? And I can share with you the little auction card that came from Julian's auction house from their Icons and Idols Rock and Roll auction. This was lot number 491. Nipsey Russell's The Wiz gloves. Alrighty, here we go. A pair of special molded latex gloves created for Nipsey Russell in his portrayal of the Tin Man in The Wiz, Universal in 1978. The gloves have various fingertips, molded screws, nuts, washers, and threaded pipe ends, detailing each day on the set, the gloves would get their own makeup session that included re-rusting the screws and adding new black adhesives to the fingertips to give the appearance of hollow fingers. Costume design by Tony Walton and Miles White. The Wiz was nominated for Academy Award for Best Costume Design in 1978, accompanied by a copy of the film, 12 by 17 inches, each provenance from the collection of Tony Walton. So yes, as you can see here, these are Nipsey Russell's gloves from The Wiz, and they came directly from Tony Walton. So, how fun are those? And they sit with Eveline's crown. Speaking of hands and fingers, we also have another more recent Oz film, Mila Kunis's fingers in her portrayal of the Wicked Witch of the West from Oz the Great and Powerful by Disney. As you can see, these fingers were applied like any latex appliance used in film or stage, and they have held up well. And we have all of her fingers here. There were multiple sets made, so these were probably used once, ripped off, and then eventually saved and then sold to me. So we have that. Along with like the coin from the movie, we also have Oz the Great and Powerful bricks from the film. And so these kind of are fun things that are on this shelf in my collection that people don't get to see that often or even at all. So kind of keep in line with, our theme for this convention is Return to Oz. And as many of you may have seen, I am working and doing a video, or did a video here rather, about Return to Oz collectibles. If you haven't seen that, check that out, or it's going to be posted soon. However, the programming lies for this. So you guys check that out if you want to see more like things like that. So this is just a closer look at those items. So a replica of pair of Return to Oz ruby slippers, and also an actual screen-used lunch pail topper and autographed bottom pail here, signed by Ozma, our beloved Emma Ridley, and our loved Fairuza Balk Dorothy on the side. So that's kind of fun. So check out that video, which will go into more explanation about those pieces. So that's that case, you guys. I love showing you things. So kind of to keep with that Return to Oz, let's use the Flying Gump abilities here, and I'm going to show you guys something that's not in my Oz room, but beyond my Oz room. So let's take the Gump. Here he is right there, actually. Speak of him. Right there. And let's fly out of my Oz room really quick here. I'm going to take a look at Mombi's costume, screen used, worn by Jean Marsh. And I don't want to turn the camera the other way, but here we go. This is Jean Marsh's costume. It's kind of darkly lit here, but we'll get a closer look, which hopefully you guys will get a better understanding. This is the screen-used costume from Return to Oz, 1985, and it was worn by Jean Marsh as Mombi. And I never really get to show anyone this up close and personal, so this is kind of an exclusive look at this. So Mombi's costume is just gorgeous. The detail that went into this, these molded plastic pieces that were put onto the costume by the costume designer for the film. We also have these metal pieces with iridescent fabric pieces inserted in. And also that unforgettable long train with that gold print on it. All still here. All still have kept up pretty well with time. And so, yes, this is the screen-used costume from the film. It is an exclusive piece in my collection. There's, as we can see, Jean Marsh wearing the costume in the photo here, accompanied by a replica of the painting that Dorothy finds in the attic that Mombi puts her in. So kind of a fun thing there. So that is Mombi's costume. Now, getting back into the Oz room, I want to show you guys some more costumes. I want to keep with that theme because I personally love costumes. Don't mind my lighting equipment, everyone. It's just to help you guys get a better look at this stuff. Here's a costume that I've shown you guys before, but many of you may have not seen. This is Zooey Deschanel's costume worn in Tin Man, the sci-fi movie, which was a futuristic look and modern-day take on our beloved story, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. Zooey Deschanel wore this in her role as DG, which stood for Dorothy Gale. Stood for Dorothy Gale. And as you can see, it includes the jeans, the shirt, and her coat. This is what would we call a hero piece. The hero pieces on costumes mean that these pieces were the main used pieces for photos and also for the preliminary shots for the film. And then all from that, doubles and triples were made for backups and such as that. Now, moving on from that, we have the very recognizable for our oncers, as you guys are called, Once Upon a Time fans. We have our ABC Dorothy, as I call her, which was a very modern take for Once Upon a Time take on Dorothy, which made her a warrior, a sword-wielding warrior who had silver slippers and was out to defend her love, Red Riding Hood. And so what we have here is the costume used in the production of those episodes. The one episode which was really notable was called Ruby Slippers, which I won't ruin for you. It had a alternative motive than a pair of magical shoes. So you have to kind of go and read that, and you'll go and read about that or go and watch that episode. It is a great episode. It broke many bounds for ABC Family and for their programming and for their show. And this was just an amazing piece to have to kind of commemorate that, and also just a new take on a beloved character, which we all know. And see, they had kept, what's really fun is the costume designer, Eduardo Castro. He's actually a friend of mine, and I have spoken to him and told him how I have his costume that he made for that, and he's told me so many fun things about this, about how he came to design it. And using the gingham design, obviously you can't make a Dorothy outfit without gingham, but the gingham he used is just so wonderful. It's a really good gingham. It's not like your normal craft store gingham. This is an actual like milled gingham, almost very close to Judy Garland's in what you'd find on her dress. It's very, very cool. So there's that. And so moving further along in my collection, we have more costumes. And so let's take a look at a costume many of you guys may remember. How many of you are Dreamer of Oz fans? The John Ritter movie, which was a biopic about L. Frank Baum that came out a few years back. And I'm only saying that so I don't make you all feel really old for those who remember, because I feel really old because I remember watching it on TV, so we won't talk about that. But here we have the Tin Man from the very famous scene where John Ritter as L. Frank Baum is sitting on the bed talking to his niece Dorothy as she's very sick. And as we know, the movie Dreamer of Oz took many liberties in creating a flow of storyline that made sense to the viewer, that may not have been historically correct. So there are a lot of you out there that are saying, oh, Dreamer of Oz was not a historically correct film. And that's true. It really wasn't. And hopefully one day we will get a more accurate film about L. Frank Baum and how he came to write the Oz books. But for now, we have Dreamer of Oz, which is just a delightful film to watch and has delightful imagery and costuming from it that is very recognizable, including our friend the Tin Man here. Now, I do have the complete costume, and he's being packed away for storage right now, and to be archived, and I'm waiting on the box for his head. So I felt like I wanted to show you guys before he's packed away and preserved the head from the movie. And it is a latex mask with those piercing green eyes, as you guys may have remembered from that scene, and from the various scenes that showed the characters, his rosy cheeks on metal, which are just so absolutely adorable. And I loved this Tin Man. I remember as a kid seeing this scene and just thinking that's the Tin Man. Like, even more so to me than Jack Haley. I know many of you are like, oh, how could you say that? But, like, it's just the imagery of him. As a kid, I was just like, that looks like the Tin Man, like how I envisioned him. And, like, the engraving on the jaw with the little scrolling and vining and, like, a little nut and bolt around the nose area. And Hollywood costuming is just unmatched anywhere. It's just wonderful. His little brass bow tie. And even the tiniest little buttons running up and down him. He's held up very well for how old he is, from the 90s. So it's a wonderful film to remember John Ritter with and by, and his funnel hat. And inside the box is his barrel chest and his shoes. And along with his legs and arms, I have another box. But I wanted to share him with you guys before he's packed up and preserved for the future. So there he is. A wonderful piece. The Dreamer of Oz Tin Man. So, another piece, as I had shown you earlier, the Scarecrow Ragdoll that had never been seen before, I have this in my collection. This is a never-before-seen Scarecrow Nightstand, children's nightstand, which was something that was used for kids in the 1920s to probably the 1940s, I'd say, which would go next to a child's bed, and like their bathrobes and towels and any little accoutrement a child would need to go to bed at night, or to help them in their slumber, would hang on this blankets, things like that. Maybe even umbrellas, or just any child thing that a kid would need would go on this. As you can see, he has pegs coming out of his chest. He's painted in our very, very recognizable Scarecrow face, and his little arms here. Now, this has never been seen before, and how I came to get this piece was actually I purchased a collection out of Georgia. A former member of IWC, who unfortunately is no longer with us, Mr. Fred Cossey. So let's take a moment to remember Fred Cossey and the wonderful things and contributions that he did for Georgia and the Oz community down there. Including his wonderful, massive collection that he shared constantly with people. And in that spirit, I love to continue that legacy and sharing this wonderful piece that came out of his collection of the Scarecrow that I had never seen before. And I know many of you may not have seen this before. But as you can see, he is just a hand-painted piece. And how I can tell you guys that this is not a handmade, well, it is a handmade piece, but it was a manufactured handmade piece, meaning there were multiples made of this, is because on the back of him, there was a stamp, and actually typewritten, like on a typewriter, it says L. Frank Baum's The Scarecrow of Oz, and then it says Children's Nightstand. Now, let me see if I can get this out of here to show you guys that. I really want to show you guys this, but as you can see, the back of him is painted, and there is a marking. See, there's the typewritten that you can see L. Frank Baum as I turn this, and then you can see, maybe I can reach you guys. There, and that gold sticker. Oh, as I turn him. Oh, he's turning for me. Great. The fun of doing this when you do live videos, huh, guys? Night Rack, it says, in the Scarecrow of by L. Frank Baum, and that's on his back. So that tells me that this was something that was produced and made. As you can see, the back is detailed and painted as well. He's made out of wood. He is a cut piece of wood with, just like I said, arms that feature to hold things such as hangers and things like of that nature. So I love this piece. It is, from what I know, one of the only existing pieces of it. I've never seen another. If you guys know anything about this, please contact me. I would love to know more about it. If you guys have some kind of literature or advertisement for it or something of that nature, that would be great. I would love to know, as I've done research and I've come up empty-handed every time. So this is a fun little mystery piece, something old from the past, and I've never shown you guys before, and I'm very excited to show you. So I hope you guys take a look at that and share that, maybe even with some people that you may know that would be able to help me identify that piece. That would be great. So there's that. So let's take a little step, as I keep mentioning previously all of the MGM pieces and MGM movie and things like that. I do love, as many of you do, the MGM movie. And here's a cabinet filled with the original merchandise from 1939 that helped promote that film, including the Ideal dolls, the M. Hardy Lion, even a fun, never-before-seen prototype Tin Man doll that came out of the Ideal Corporation and that ended up not being produced. As you can see, it was crudely produced and then put on a sample base and probably used for a toy show or toy fair of that year, just as a quick mock-up to fill in a space that they had yet done and then eventually got dropped. But we do see our very familiar Scarecrow in various detail, including a Scarecrow that has a completely painted face rather than the known pressed face that we see. So he's very unique as being a later model that came out, which I've learned about and wanted to show you guys. These dolls came in various stages as they were produced for many years by the Ideal Corporation. And the Scarecrow being one whose appearance had changed according to what year he was produced and how they produced him. And as I said, I'm going to beyond the glass and open the case here and show you so you can get a closer look. So this is really fun. He has, as you can see, a very different face than this one. This one, as you can see as I turn to the side here, he has indented face, which is a pressed linen face, as compared to this one, who has a painted face with a, crudely sketched nose, which either wore off or this was some sort of prototype or just a replaced fixed face of some sort. But he is a later model that was created than these. And so there is always a difference in those, and depending on when they were made. And then the M. Hardy Lion, which has been seen before, but is always a fun refresher to see in a collection, and with, nonetheless, his tag. So that is one of the items in my collection that I love to show people. And also the very rare, which I've never seen, flying monkey. So apparently M. Hardy made a monkey as well, which I don't have. And if any of my viewers out there have this, or digital conventional goers have these, let us know. We would love to see more photos. Post them onto our Collectors United page on Facebook or onto the IWC page. I'm sure all of us would love to see lost treasures of Oz, as I call them. So moving along, we see many more familiar pieces that we know, including hangers and linen masks, along with soaps and pins and glasses and things like that. Rare theater buttons from the 30s. And then we move down, and I have some things that are kind of fun that may have never been seen before. So in the 40s, at theaters in the UK, prior to showing the movie, they would show on the screen these almost like lamp-lighted or lit music lyrics to music that would be playing on a Tivoli or on a piano. And so as you can see here, this came from out of London, and it's Morgan Slide's limited candle light slides. And so this came out of a theater for the 1940s when it was over in the UK, the film. They would play the music on organ or whatever, or on a piano, and these would be projected onto a screen, which were the lyrics for Over the Rainbow, so patrons could sing along prior to the film's start. So I have that. Those are something that you never really see in a collection. So I have those. And including my autograph lion, as many of you may have seen on Collector's Call on MeTV with Lisa Wilchel. This was the great mystery piece that I had shown on that show. So we have that here. And so, as many of you know, we have this Frank Morgan mug that came out in the 1940s in the likeness of Frank Morgan, and it was made by by James Warren. And these mugs of these famous people are actually really hard to find. It says Frank Morgan on the bottom. And so these were shown before in Oz collector's books, including 100 Years of Oz, Willard Carroll's book. And what's fun is that you don't see and haven't seen are the smaller versions of that mug, including an unpainted version. These are actually tinier versions, if I can grab them for you here. And you can see in comparison, he is much, much smaller. So that's kind of fun. And including the unpainted version as well that I have in my collection that you never see. And many of you may note the Billy Burke chocolates and Billy Burke spoon in the background there. So that's kind of fun. I like to represent a lot of the hardworking actors that brought together this amazing fantasy musical that we all love so much. So I love celebrating them and sharing that in my collection. So there's that. So those are fun pieces that you never get to see. I love sharing that with you guys. So, moving along, let's take another jump back in history here, and let's take a look at some of the pieces that you guys may have seen, but may have never seen up close, including what I have, a Daisy Air Rifle advertisement here, and it's actually a target practice piece with the Scarecrow that I've never seen before. It is so weird. It says Daisy's Safe Spring Type Air Rifle, Daisy Manufacturing Company. And as you can see, the Scarecrow, our beloved friend here, is the target practice for kids to practice with their Daisy Air Rifle. And as many of us know, the Daisy Air Rifle from Christmas Story, you'll shoot your eye out, kid. So why not shoot out the eye of the Scarecrow? How horrible. But yes, nonetheless, he found his way onto a target practicing piece of cardboard for children. And this is in my collection as well. I've never seen this before. As well, I don't know if any of you have. Give a shout out again if you have information about that. I just find it very interesting, an interesting piece that you never really see. Also, Mr. Woozy. We have the Woozy from the Oz Manufacturing Toy Company, or Oz Toy Manufacturing Company, which very few exist. I believe only 2 or 3 exist, including the photo of the children that previously owned him prior. We also have the Ozmite pin that we rarely see in collections, which is really fun. The Wogglebug game, along with what I have found, a tin horn that is not like the other party horns that stand upright, but this one is rather a bugle style with a handle. It also features the Oz characters, the Marvelous Land of Oz characters, Tip and Jack Pumpkinhead and the Tin Man, and all of them, and Mombi. Kind of fun. So we have that, along with our oilcloth dolls that many of you have seen before. So we have all of that in the collection. Stationery, which is really where the white and Wyckoff's Land of Oz stationery for little folks. Mint and box, kind of fun. I have that. So these are just like my older pieces, but those are the few that maybe you've never seen before and I wanted to share with you. So there is all of that. So Well, I guess that would be kind of my little exclusive. Oh, let's take a look at Diana Ross's chair. Okay, so many of you are like, look, we were talking about The Wiz. So, yes, this is Diana Ross's actual chair that was used on set for when they were filming The Wiz. There is actually a famous photo of her sitting with her two children. Tracy Evans Ross, who also went on to later fame, as we know, as a very accomplished actress herself. And as you can see here, it says The Wiz on the back. And so this is a wonderful memento that you never see anywhere else. And so kind of a fun thing I wanted to show you guys. What is that? So as you can see, that is one of my prominent pieces I keep in my collection. So there we go. So we're going to put you guys right back on the stand here. Thank you so much for joining me and for doing this wonderful digital convention. You convention goers are just so resilient, and we let nothing stop us, including wicked witches, apple trees, and walls made of china. We get through everything, don't we, Ozians? And we'll get through this, as we always do. So please stay safe. Wear your masks when you go out, because I want to see you guys in the future at Oz events. You all mean so much to me, and even to the point that we're going to be resilient and do this digitally so we can still see each other. And that's the unity of the Oz community. And that's unmatchable anywhere else. And so thank you for joining me this evening in this exclusive look at some things out of my Oz collection. I look forward to seeing things out of your collection. Join us on Wizard of Oz Collectors United as a free group that you can post your things that you're unsure of what they are. And also continue supporting the IWC, the International Wizard of Oz Club, which is brought to you by countless fans who work hard and tirelessly for you to have this wonderful content and information that otherwise would be lost to time and wouldn't be on the internet. So thank you so much to all of them and for doing this wonderful event. And thank you for joining me. And I hope to see you guys further down the Yellow Brick Road and in person at a future OzCon. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Bye.